All right, welcome to the rundown. We're going to be getting into the Chicago Bears and if this is a make or break year for Caleb, the Denver Broncos, and if they're Super Bowl contenders or not, and De'Aaron Fox signing a 4-year deal with the San Antonio Spurs. So let's start off with the Chicago Bears, and there's been a lot of talk about them. Whether it's Caleb Williams missing the Nets or Ben Johnson throwing the first team off the field, and that's not a Caleb Williams thing, that's just the offense as a whole. And I think this is an important year for Caleb. He has to show some signs of greatness. Not saying he has to be great from start to finish and has to put up an MVP caliber year, but I think sometime around Thanksgiving, December, he has to show something and show that he understands the offense and that he can be an elite level quarterback. And for some quarterbacks, it takes a while for them to come into their own, whether it's a Baker Mayfield, a Jalen Hurts, or a Josh Allen, who was your typical raw prospect, had elite athletic traits, but the Bills had to make sure he had to work on his accuracy, and he was able to do that, and he was able to turn his accuracy around. But for most quarterbacks, you see superstardom immediately. You saw it immediately with Lamar. He was kind of raw his first year, but second year, he won the MVP. Mahomes, his first year starting, MVP level player. Uh, Jaden Daniels, rookie year was awesome. Justin Herbert, rookie year was awesome. And even Drake May has shown something. And Caleb Williams actually has a decent roster. Not saying that they're playoff material, but they did bolster the offensive line with Joe Tooney and Jonah Jackson. And they do have some pretty good playmaking pieces. They got DJ Moore. Roma Dunze definitely showed some promise. They got the tight end Cole Kmet, who's a pretty good tight end. They drafted another tight end in Colston Loveland. So you can't really look at the Chicago Bears and just say, oh, they're just breadth of talent and they don't have anything. And Caleb doesn't have anyone that can get wide open. That's not the case. Caleb Williams definitely has some receiver talent, and he definitely has to show that he can make good use of it. And another thing is they got rid of the coach. I mean, Matt Eberflus, he just wasn't up to it. He just seemed in over his head. And I think the game that most people can point to that a lot of people were watching was the Thanksgiving game against Detroit, where he just did not manage the time well whatsoever. And then their offensive coordinator, he also wasn't good. They had to fire Shane Waldron. Caleb Williams talked about how there was nobody to watch film with him, and apparently, like from his days in Seattle and in Chicago, players were just not happy with the scheme, so they had to let him go. And they got a good head coach in Ben Johnson, who was an offensive coordinator with the Detroit Lions. I mean, they're not getting like a CEO level head coach like some head coaches are, like a Dan Campbell, John Harbaugh, kind of like a Mike Tomlin and Pete Carroll. Like Ben Johnson, like knows his offense, like a Kyle Shanahan or Sean McVay or an Andy Reid. Not saying that he's the level of those coaches, but he's just a coach that went from being an offensive coordinator to being a head coach. And that's a big advantage that someone can have, like a Caleb Williams, who is a great quarterback and needs someone to help guide him along on offense. And that should definitely be a big benefit to him. And if he shows improvement this year and shows that like he understands Ben Johnson's system, then he can take off the third year, and that's when the offense can really take off, and Caleb Williams can put up the big explosive offense, and like the offense can like score a lot of points in a lot of games against some of the better defenses, and then hopefully be a playoff contender and maybe potentially go far in the playoffs. But first, Caleb has got to improve the sacks. He took 68 sacks last year, and I know that the offensive line wasn't any good, and they gave up a lot. But you can't give up. You can't have 68 sacks. I mean, some of that is just on him, and he just has to get the ball out quick. I mean, when your offensive line is just not as good, you just have to get the ball out quicker. I mean, Joe Burrow, he takes a lot of sacks, but some of that is just on the offensive line. But he's also understood that he's got to get the ball out quick, and that's what Caleb Williams has to do. He just has to get the ball out quick when your offensive line isn't as good. And I think that even when your offensive line is good, you just can't keep scrambling around. I mean, Russell Wilson did that, and he took a lot of sacks throughout his career. So Caleb Williams is going to have to understand that he has to stay in the pocket, dissect the defense, and just get the ball quickly out of his hand. And even the quarterbacks who can run, like a Josh Allen, a Patrick Mahomes, and now even a Lamar Jackson, while they can extend plays with their legs, and Lamar is obviously the best at it, you got to sit back in the pocket and you got to throw to be one of the best quarterbacks of the league. And that's something that Caleb Williams is going to have to learn. And it's going to be really interesting to see how Ben Johnson is going to use him because Caleb Williams is a way different quarterback than Jared Goff. I mean, Jared Goff is your typical 6'4", 6'5" quarterback who's just going to stand in the pocket, dissect the defense, and just sprinkle it. But Caleb Williams, I mean, he does need to learn how to do that, but he can also run. So it'll be really interesting to see how he'll be able to add the running element of his offense because Ben Johnson really didn't have that in Detroit. But the best coaches, they can adapt to the players. And I think that's what Ben Johnson is going to do. He's going to run the plays that Caleb likes to like, and hopefully we'll see the best of Caleb. And like I said, around Thanksgiving in December, if he's not showing any signs of greatness, if he's still struggling, then I don't know. Chicago may have to think long and hard about potentially moving on or trying to find someone different. I think second year, Thanksgiving, December, I think that's enough to know whether a guy has it or not. Even someone like a Jordan Love. I mean, he sat for a couple years, started full time his third years. He struggled like in the beginning half of the season, but second half of the season, he really turned around. He really exploded, and then they were able to win that playoff game against Dallas, and they went toe to toe with San Francisco, who went to the Super Bowl that year. And not saying that Caleb Williams has to win a playoff game, but kind of like a Jordan Love has to show up in the second half of the season. But if he can play great from start to finish, that's even better. But I doubt that's going to happen as he gets used to Ben Johnson's offense. Now I want to switch to a team in the AFC, and that's the Denver Broncos. Pretty solid season with the Broncos last year, 10-7. Made the playoffs after them winning the Super Bowl in 2016. So it was about like a 9-year gap. Lost to the Buffalo Bills 31-7. But Sean Payton thinks that they're ready to take the next step. He talked about how short term the goal is winning the division, but this is a team capable of winning the Super Bowl. I've coached 6 teams that I thought could win the Super Bowl. Some went to championship games, some to the playoffs. This is my 7th team that I think has that. And I was listening to Bill Simmons talk with Diana Rossini, and she talked about how Sean Payton kind of called her out of the blue, and he left her a voicemail, and he said, "I love my Q," and that was pretty much all he said. And you can tell that Sean Payton loves Bo Nix. I mean, he loves Bo Nix in a way that he just did not love Russell Wilson. I mean, you could see that he was just not happy with the way Russell Wilson was running his offense. I mean, Russ is not a guy that can stand back in the pocket and just, throw the ball. I mean, he's 5'11". He has to run around, and Sean Payton likes guys that can get the ball out quick. And plus, Russell Wilson takes a lot of sacks, and that's also something that Sean Payton doesn't like. I mean, I think he tried his best to fix him, and I mean, he did fix him to a degree, but it was very limited with Russ, and it was like a very limited play sheet that Sean Payton could run. But with Bo Nix, he feels different. He feels that he could really like run the offense he wants with Bo Nix. And with Russell Wilson, he just got sick of him, and even before they played games, you could tell that he wasn't all in on Russ, and at best, he was lukewarm on him. And yeah, he got rid of Russ, and now he gets a quarterback that he likes. And Bo Nix has definitely shown some promise. I mean, he threw last year for 3,775 yards, 29 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions. And Denver has a lot of talent this year. I mean, PFF has their offensive line ranked as the second best. Playmaking is decent. They got Cortland Sutton. They got Marvin Mims. They got Evan Ingram in free agency. I mean, he missed some games last year, but hopefully he can be available this time around. And many sites have their defense projected as top 5. And I mean, they did add a couple pieces from San Francisco and Tonoa Hufunga and Dre Greenlaw. So they'll definitely be better. And who knows, maybe they can win 11, 12 games, but they have their work cut out for them in the division. I mean, they got the Chiefs, and I'll talk more about them. They got the Chargers, and then I think that the Raiders will be better with Pete Carroll coaching them, and they also got a pretty solid quarterback in Geno Smith, which is something they didn't have in years past other than, I guess, Derek Carr, who had some pretty good seasons here and there, but for the most part was very inconsistent. And I respect Sean Payton's optimism. I mean, him saying that he thinks they're a Super Bowl contender, he's not paying any lip service because he talks about how there's only 6 other times where he's thought that his teams could potentially win the Super Bowl. So it shows that he's self-aware and that he's not a guy who every year thinks, oh, we could win the Super Bowl. No, he understands when his team is good and when his team isn't. And he's had some bad teams. I mean, when he was in New Orleans, I think they had like 3 straight years where they were like 7-9 and they had like 32nd ranked defense. But Sean Payton understands that they have a lot more talent this time around, and he also has a quarterback that he fully believes in. But I just don't think they're a Super Bowl team this upcoming season. I mean, in the AFC, I still got the Bills ahead of them. Uh, their defense isn't good as in years past, but I still think it's going to be pretty good. And I mean, with Josh Allen under center, their offense is still going to be pretty good, even though they don't have like super duper elite playmaking talent. And then the Ravens, they still have a fantastic defense. Lamar with Todd Monken, it really seems that Lamar has taken that next step offensively. I mean, he was a pretty good offensive player with Greg Roman as his offensive coordinator, but with Todd Monken, I mean, the man threw for like 4,000 yards, 41 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. I mean, those are crazy numbers, and they have some good playmaking talent in Zay Flowers and Mark Andrews. So I think that Lamar is just going to get better and better offensively, and he still has like room to grow, especially in the playoffs. And the Chiefs, you just can't count out Pat Mahomes with good playmaking talent. I mean, Travis Kelsey is still a factor, even though he's a little bit on the decline. He's definitely still a factor, and defenses still have to pay attention to him. Rashee Rice is going to be back after he suffered a knee injury last year. I mean, he is going to get suspended for some time this season, and it'll be interesting to see how long they'll suspend him for, but he's going to be back at some point. Xavier Worthy, hopefully he improves, and Hollywood Brown, he should be healthy this time around after suffering a shoulder injury and being out for most of the season. And they still got a pretty good defense, retained a lot of pieces. They still got Steve Spagnuolo as their defensive coordinator, who's one of the best defensive coordinators in the NFL. So those are the 3 teams I have ahead of them. I think that the year after this year, I think that's when they can potentially make a Super Bowl leap, especially if Bo Nix is able to just get more accustomed to Sean Payton's offense. And Diana Rossini was talking about with Bill Simmons how it was hard for Bo at first. Like, he understood the plays they were running and he was able to memorize them, but he just didn't understand the why behind them and like why they were running certain plays. But it seems that he has a better grasp of the offense, and with him having a better grasp of the offense down the line, the Broncos will definitely be more explosive. But I just don't think this is the year they're going to make a Super Bowl run. I think it's going to be the year after. And usually it takes quarterbacks, 2, 3 years to like show their talent. I mean, obviously there is a Jaden Daniels, like I've talked about before, who's like good right out the gate. But for some quarterbacks, it takes time. And I think for Bo Nix, it's going to take, another year or so. But third year, I think that's when we can really start judging Denver. And hopefully if they'll able to retain most of their pieces, they can make a Super Bowl run, but just not this year. Now I want to talk about the NBA. De'Aaron Fox, he signed a 4-year, $229 million deal, and I got to be honest, I think San Antonio jumped the gun on this one. I think they should have played out this season and see how he fits with like some of their younger pieces and Dylan Harper and Stephon Fox. He had a year left on his 5-year, $163 million deal, but they just jumped the gun and signed him. And I like De'Aaron Fox. I mean, I think he's the 30th best player in the league at best. He had one fantastic season in 2023, and he played well against Golden State in the playoffs. He fractured his left index finger, and who knows, maybe if he didn't fracture his left index finger, they could have beaten Golden State and they could have faced the Los Angeles Lakers in the second round. And apparently, according to sources, the Lakers were like more scared to face the Kings than they were the Warriors. But I mean, other than that, De'Aaron Fox has just kind of been like, 30th best player, 40th best player. I mean, I really think San Antonio should have waited and see how he fits with Dylan Harper and Stephon Castle. I feel that there's going to be some overlap of skills with those players, and I feel at some point down the line they're going to have to make a decision on which piece has to go. And I feel most teams want to stick with their young players and that they're going to want to stick with Dylan Harper and Stephon Castle. And if for some reason, like I said, that he doesn't fit, I just don't think his play is going to be as good. I mean, in order to play well, you just need to fit with the other players around you. And it's not like he's like a Luka Doncic or a Giannis or a Jokic where you just build a team around him. I mean, we saw how that worked in Sacramento. I mean, like I said, very good player, had that one All-Star season, but it just didn't lead to a lot of wins. And they're obviously going to build around Wemby and see how pieces fit around him. And if he doesn't play as well, I mean, San Antonio is just not going to get as much as a haul for him as they would have liked if, they just waited out this season. Maybe if like they could see like, okay, he fits with this guy, he fits with this guy, then sign him to a long term deal. But I just think it was awfully way too soon. But I guess their mindset is, we traded for this guy to put him next to Wemby and surround Wemby with more talent, and we just want to validate our trade. But things change. I mean, I don't think that they were expecting that they were going to get the second overall pick when they traded him. But then Wemby got hurt. De'Aaron Fox also got hurt, and they lucked out, and they got the second overall pick. And I think Dylan Harper is going to be a very good player. And now that they did get Dylan Harper, I think their first priority is to prioritize their young talent. And plus, with the second apron signing De'Aaron Fox to that massive deal, I mean, it's going to be harder and harder to find suitors for him, even if he does play well, because with the second apron, it just limits like how you can sign your team, how you can sign player, how you can make trades, how you can draft. And I don't know a lot of teams that are just like, going to give up a lot of assets for a De'Aaron Fox, who, like I said, is like the 30th, 40th best player. And also down the line, they're going to have to worry about Wemby. Wemby's definitely getting the max. Dylan Harper, if he's any good, like I think he's going to get the max. Stephon Castle, he'll probably get a good chunk of money, but who knows? Maybe he's going to be the odd guy out, and they'll just build around Dylan Harper, Wemby, and De'Aaron Fox. But don't like this deal, and they're going to have to eventually try and cut costs. And yeah, I just don't think it's going to work out, but who knows? I may be wrong, and maybe it does work out, and maybe he fits with those guys perfectly. They win, I don't know, 41, 43 games. They make the play-in. They're a playoff team, and they lose in the first round, and hopefully that's a foundation that they can build off of. And maybe Stephon Castle is the odd guy out, or, maybe Dylan Harper might just suck. I mean, we've seen top lottery picks suck, and who knows, maybe he just sucks, and maybe De'Aaron Fox is just an insurance policy. Like, okay, we know that this guy is good, and if Dylan Harper does happen to suck, we can sign him. But nonetheless, still think they should have waited another year. And yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. Please like and subscribe. I'll be back next week. Thank you so much.